Hello, brothers and sisters, this is Tina. It's time for a daily devotional. Today, I picked another passage of God's words about knowing God, knowing who Jesus is, because some are confused. Is Jesus God? Is Jesus the Son of God? Why did Jesus pray to the Father in heaven? So let's see what God says. Almighty God says, "There are others who say, did not God expressly state that Jesus was his beloved Son? Jesus is the beloved Son of God, in whom he is well pleased. This was certainly spoken by God himself." That was God bearing witness to himself, but merely from a different perspective. That of the Spirit in heaven bearing witness to his own incarnation. Jesus is his incarnation, not his Son in heaven. Do you understand? Do not the words of Jesus, "I am in the Father, and the Father in me," indicate that they are one Spirit? And is it not because of the incarnation that they were separated between heaven and earth? In reality, they are still one, no matter what. It is simply God bearing witness to himself. Owing to the change in ages, the requirements of the work, and the differing stages of his management plan, the name by which man calls him also differs. When he came to carry out the first stage of work, he could only be called Jehovah, who is the shepherd of the Israelites. In the second stage, the incarnate God could only be called Lord and Christ. But at that time, the Spirit in heaven stated only that he was the beloved Son of God, and made no mention of his being the only Son of God. This simply did not happen. How could God have an only child? Then would God not have become man? Because he was the incarnation, he was called the beloved Son of God. And from this came the relationship between Father and Son. It was simply because of the separation between heaven and earth. Jesus prayed from the perspective of the flesh. Since he had put on a flesh of such normal humanity, it is from the perspective of the flesh that he said, "My outer shell is that of a created being. Since I put on a flesh to come to this earth, I am now a long, long way from heaven." For this reason, he could only pray to God the Father from the perspective of the flesh. This was his duty, and it was that which the incarnate Spirit of God should be furnished with. It cannot be said that he was not God simply because he prayed to the Father from the perspective of the flesh. Though he was called the beloved Son of God, he was still God himself, for he was but the incarnation of the Spirit, and his essence was still the Spirit. Amen. God's words are very clear. We can see that Jesus was God himself, and God explains it. So God helps us to understand that God is one Spirit. We cannot separate God and the Son because they're one, and God does his work from different perspectives. And so it reveals when it talks about, did God not expressly state that Jesus was his beloved Son? And yes, he did. But God reveals that that was God bearing witness to himself from a different perspective, which was that of the Spirit in heaven bearing witness to his own incarnation, meaning to becoming flesh, to clarify that Jesus could represent God, that he was the beloved Son of God. He was able to do the work of God himself. But he did not reveal that Jesus was his only Son in heaven, because Jesus is God himself. And the words that Jesus spoke when he said, "I am in the Father, and the Father in me. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father," they indicate that they are one Spirit, that Jesus is God himself. Jesus never really outright said, "I am God." But by these words, "I am in the Father, and the Father in me," or "if you've seen me, you've seen the Father," indicate that he is God himself. So, because God became flesh, they were separated between the spiritual world and the material world, which is heaven and earth. But they're still one. It's just God bearing witness to himself. So this is really important that we understand this perspective so we can really understand God and understand the significance of who Christ is. So God doesn't have an only child. That would make him a human. And God is not a human. He's not a created being. God is the creator. And God will always stand in the position as the creator. God can become a man. God can be spirit. God can do whatever he wants to do. So God is trying to help us to understand who he really is. So God testifies to his own incarnation that his outer shell is that of a created being, so he can do the work he needs to do amongst man to help us to understand God. 2,000 years ago, he came to do the work of redemption. In the last days, he comes back to do the work of judgment. And he does both works from the perspective of becoming a man as the Son of Man, but he still represents the Spirit himself. In the Old Testament, God reveals he takes different names in different ages also. So in the Old Testament, he took the name Jehovah. In the New Testament, he takes the name Jesus. In the last days, he also takes the new name Almighty God. And so, very importantly, we can see that God reveals it cannot be said that he was not God simply because he prayed to the Father from the perspective of the flesh. Though he was called the beloved Son of God, he was still God himself. And this is why it's really, really important to understand the mystery of the incarnation, a great mystery that God has come to reveal to us in the last days. If you'd like to learn more, let me know. I'll be glad to get you added into one of our sermons. That's all I have to share on these passage of words today. If you'd like to share, please feel free to do so, and we'll see you next time. God bless you and have a wonderful day. Bye.